Okay, we're live.
Okay, great. Welcome everyone to this week's 2025 New Year webinar that we have been doing over 3 years from now. And we're just grateful that we've come this far. As you all know, and I would like to reiterate the fact that it started off as dealing with gun violence and what is going on in this country with so many guns and different, gun violences that were prevailing. And then as we started off with gun violence in America, we realized that there was something even deeper than the gun violence. What is the root cause that causes a person to pick up that instrument or that weapon and to harm or commit murder or whatever it does in harming his fellow man? What is the motivation? What is the root cause of that? And then we look at the root cause, and we could begin to find ways to reduce the use of a weapon to hurt others. Subsequently, after that, and we've come to that conclusion, and I'm going to tell you why we came to that conclusion. Because we've had several speakers from the law enforcement, community activists, religious leaders, and so on, that came on, and the things and the avenues that they have taken that we realized that were sustainable and measurable changes that they made in their communities, and the angles and avenues that they chose to take in order to work on reducing crime in their communities and in their state at large was applaudable, was something that I thought, and I've always said, it's like they were silos on their own. But we came to the point where we realized that we need to bring all those people together, and through bringing together, we can, on a national basis, help to reduce the crime. So today we have one of our young men who came on, or a gentleman who was a speaker, and that you probably saw, was Arcadio. Arcadio had some extenuating circumstances that came up. He couldn't come. So we're going to do what we call a past recording in 2023 or 24. But this particular person, I thought, was excellent, because he is one of the unusual mayors out there that really focused his energy and his administration on reducing crime in a positive manner, in a positive way. So I'm going to just introduce him a little bit. This is Mayor Garner, Tyrone Garner, and he's from Kansas City, Kansas, and he's always taken a stance against crime. And he's from the Wyandotte County. And you'll see for yourself the things that he has done and is still doing. Without any further ado, let's listen to our dear brother, Honorable Mayor Tyrone Garner.
It really has a detriment. It has a detriment of homicides and shootings that really adversely impact not just the victims, but their families. And sometimes we go to these prayer vigils and these balloon releases, and we give folks our thoughts and our prayers. We'll go to the wake and we go to the funerals. And usually what I've seen, a lot of times that's where the support stops. And it's an unfortunate reality, but the real reality is that long after all that occurs, these families, especially our homicide victims, they deal with the tragedy of loss of their loved ones for a lifetime. And so it does have a profound negative impact on not just the immediate family, but generations of individuals that deal with that loss and that vacuum of not having that loved one there in their lives. I can say here in Kansas City, Kansas, one thing that we're proud of is we do have a chief that came in about 2 years ago with an 8-point platform. And his 8-point platform is really rooted around 21st century policing. And if you look at 21st century policing, which has a foundation in community-oriented policing and problem solving, really what that means is the officers are out in the community, engaged with the community, not bringing policing to the community, but allowing the community to police their neighborhoods and the community with the police in a collaborative way. And the police not just looking at things where you would think that police officers traditionally do, which is just arrest. I heard you mention the causes of crime, and that is really true. What are some of the causes of crime? When you talk about blight, when you talk about homelessness, when you talk about poverty, when you talk about lack of access to goods, services, and resources, when you talk about government that may not be responsive to areas in the community, and you can look at some of those areas right here in Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County, where we have some of the most distressed zip codes that have become a real picture of what it means to be redlined through decades of racist policies that were implemented throughout the years, as well as disinvestment and disenfranchisement in these areas, which has literally strangled these communities to the point of desperation. And unfortunately, most of these communities just so happen to be Black, and they so happen to be brown, and they happen to be poor. And you look at the over-policing sometimes of those areas that has traditionally happened. And I can go back to what our chief, Carl Oakman, has done, is really getting the officers out in the neighborhoods and sitting at the table, or meeting folks in their homes, at the diners, and having real conversations about not just what the police may want the community to hear, but taking the time to listen to the community and saying, what issues are most important to you? How can we partner? Number one, to be trusted, you have to show yourself being trustworthy. And that's the first step, is getting out in the community and letting people see you in a different light, not just stopping their children, not just writing tickets and taking folks to jail. Because what we've learned, in my experience, what we've learned, and the data supports it, is you cannot arrest your way out of crime. And if we could, our prisons would not be overflowing with individuals. Again, you have to get back to the root causes. What we're seeing really now, that is really a huge problem, is homelessness. And what that brings when you talk about folks that are trying to survive in a society that may look down on them because they have a criminal background, so they can't get a job, which really strips them of their ability to provide for themselves and any families that they may have. There's a huge outbreak of mental illness that has really taken a grip on our community. Then you talk about the illegal use of harmful, and I like to stress harmful, drugs that has had a huge disparate impact on our community. Then you have the disabled, and you have individuals that are just trying to make it. And so we look at that as being a huge problem. And so really, from my vantage point as the mayor, what is causing this? How do we create policies? Because that's really the role of the mayor here in Wyandotte County, is pushing forth policies to our commissioners that hopefully they will adopt, that will improve outcomes or improve the quality of life of our residents here in Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. Some of the things that we've done in our mayor's office is we set up a task force to look at policies and practices and procedures to improve some of our ordinances, or at least have the ordinances better reflect the values of our community in collaboration with both the police and our residents, and pushing forward those recommendations to the commission. Really getting out to where the people are and trying to meet the people where they are and trying to address their needs and seeing what those needs are, and really taking their reasonable, and I like to say reasonable, requests and formulating policies that hopefully can improve the human condition. One of the biggest things that we're really focusing on in that aspect is housing. People just need safe, clean, affordable, livable neighborhoods to raise their families. And that is becoming a premium. And to me, that is the first step, is having safe and affordable housing for a lot of our residents. And so then you look at economic development. To me, the economic development is huge when you talk about changing the atmosphere, if you want to call it that, in some of these distressed zip codes in Wyandotte County, providing the jobs and the resources and the opportunities for individuals that want those opportunities for success, making sure that those opportunities are there, readily available for them to seize those opportunities. Education is also key to that. I often say the first step to hope, the second step to opportunity, the third step to an improved destiny starts with an education. And I'm excited that our community college has actually decided to move a satellite campus to some of the most distressed zip codes in our community, which could free up the inhibitors of individuals that want to get a better education because of transportation or lack of access. Now they'll have that ability to do so with curriculum that provides not just your traditional business degree, but things that that can allow residents to become entrepreneurs and business owners, so they can start to create generational wealth for them and their themselves and their families. And so those are the types of things that we're working on. The police department here in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, have done a good job under the leadership of Carl Oakman. I cannot stress the value of human life, and so I don't want anybody to take this in a negative way. But we've had a 9-year low in violent crime in Wyandotte County, and a record low in homicides here in Wyandotte County, or at least in Kansas City, Kansas. But it's unheard of for a police department to have 100% homicide solvability rate. And under the leadership of Chief Carl Oakman and the great work of the detectives and the investigators, they've managed to accomplish that goal. That doesn't bring that individual back, and it doesn't relieve the pain of loss that families feel, but it does allow the families to start being able to navigate in a way that can bring them closure, and hopefully just bring them some level of solitude that the person that committed the heinous crime of murder is being brought to justice through the work of the police department. But I'd like to stress the police department couldn't have been successful and done that on their own. Individuals being and working in partnership with our police department was key. And I think here in Kansas City, Kansas, it says a lot, because what you'll find if you talk to everyday residents, they want safe and clean and livable neighborhoods for themselves and their families. They want a place and they want to help make Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas a great and safe place to live, work, and raise their families. And what we're seeing is that they realize that they have to be engaged. We have over 50 dedicated neighborhood groups throughout Kansas City, Kansas, with neighborhood leaders, where these groups meet on a regular basis, and they work not just on crime issues, but they work on the issues that perpetuate crime, be it blight. You see a lot of community cleanups going on here in Kansas City, Kansas. They work closely with our codes department and our community policing officers, and we have a real strong community policing unit here in Wyandotte County. We've had it since the mid-90s. And really, if you look at what community policing has done here in Kansas City, Kansas, in partnership with our community, that correlates directly to the drop in some of our violent crime over the years. So I know back in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, the crack epidemic hit this nation really hard, and Wyandotte County was not immune to that. And there were a lot of murders and homicides related to crack and illegal drug sales. And a lot of people lost their lives, and a lot of young men and women were incarcerated, it really had a bad effect on our community. And then we don't even get into the negative effects of those individuals that self-medicated using those drugs for whatever reason. And then the impact that had on their children and their families. So when you talk about, people often think, oh, you know, an individual that may be using a harmful drug, that, you know, that affects that person. Well, you got to remember, somebody somewhere loves that individual. Somewhere that's somebody's child, that's somebody's mother or father. And so that just doesn't impact that individual. It has a profound negative impact on communities. And so Kansas City, Kansas, we've done a good job of really addressing those needs. The big drug that we're seeing now here in Wyandotte County is fentanyl. And our chief is really working with our federal authorities to get a handle on that problem. That's a really heinous drug that can be deadly in a lot of situations, and just trying to make sure that we do everything we can to keep it abated in a way that it doesn't cause another epidemic like we saw back in the late 80s and 90s. So does Wyandotte County have crime? Of course. Do we have gangs? Of course. Do we have individuals that don't live lifestyles that reflect the community at large values? Of course, just like any other community. But I can say, no, we don't have zero crime, but I can say that we've done a good job trying to get as close as we can to being a crime-free community. Not that we are, as any other community that does a good job with crime prevention and community engagement with the police. And so those are some of the challenges we have. I really like to highlight not so much the challenges, but the good work, because there's a lot of good work being done, not just by the police, but by residents that are helping the police in their job. And then you've got elected officials and politicians such as myself that are trying to create policies to really focus on the causes of crime. And I think that collective of community, law enforcement, and elected officials working together to improve the human condition and the dynamic that exists for all those that love Kansas City, Kansas, has really shown good results. And so that's something that we all can be proud of here in Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. And if we keep it going, I feel the best is yet to come. The goal now, because Wyandotte County is still a poor community, just looking at per capita income, is to look at those areas that have been disinvested that I talked about, disenfranchised and marginalized and redlined, and making sure that we do everything we can to bring opportunities, that we invest in those disinvested areas, and we bring the resources and the goods and the services and the jobs that hopefully come with that to change that human experience and condition that has negatively impacted so many people east of what we call 635 here in Kansas City, Kansas. If you go to the western portion of our city, it's more affluent. If you go to the eastern portion of our city, not so much. And for me, that was a problem coming into it, because I've always said it, I see that as economic segregation. And so we've got to bring a level of balance, because I believe that a rising tide will lift all boats. There's been huge investments in the western areas that are more affluent. We need to have that same energy with intent to bring those types of investments and opportunities to these areas where the investment is needed most. And I think that goes a long way when you start improving our neighborhoods and really investing in people and investing in the people, the places, and the programs where the investments are needed most. That can have a positive, profound impact on negating crime as well. And so hopefully that answered a little bit of what you were looking for. I am a huge proponent of Barack Obama's 21st Century Policing Report. Some of you may have heard of it. It's online. A lot of it is just, I guess from my experience, is just common sense ways to improve the quality of life working with the police in communities. And I encourage anyone to look at that report and just use some of those suggestions because they've worked and they've done wonders here in Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. And so we're excited about what the future has. And as mayor, I'm confident that the best is yet to come for Wyandotte County if we continue on this pathway of working together and collaborating as a unified community.
Thank you. As I said, he just testified and confirmed that there are best practices out there that needs to come on a national platform. One of the things I really liked his initial statements that he made, which were it was from the heart and a very high level of sincerity and commitment. And he's a politician. What a unique combination that he has just displayed to us. But one of the greatest points that he has made, and I'm going to open up for discussion, was we come together for problem solving. So that means that we have to sit down. We have to put aside our egos and our knives or whatever we think that is correct, and open a door to listen and to collaborate, which was the next critical made some very powerful inroads from the conference, to Stop the Violence conference that was held in Las Vegas. Was one of the greatest operative words was the collaboration. How do we collaborate? We're not taking away from the avenues or the ways in which you have been using to reduce crime, but how do we bring all of those different avenues together and help one another, not to abandon what you're doing, but to become a catalyst to help. And another interesting point that he brought up was, and he's true, why do we need this? Why do we need to be committed to finding, the root causes and working from that vantage point? And that is, you can't arrest your way out of crime. It's true. Just like you can't legislate morality. It takes efforts to really look at what causes people to behave in a manner that becomes criminal behaviors. And he mentioned several categories: drugs, and some of the things that we didn't talk about: mental illness, poverty, all sorts of things contribute to people's ill behaviors. And we have to look at that. How do we bring resolutions to solve those problems in order to uplift the human spirit and allow the human spirit to not work in the manner of destruction, but work in a manner of goodness and the manner of helping others. So I just want to open up. He spoke, he shared several excellent points, and I think that it would engender some great discussion. Dr. Madeline, he kept echoing the root causes. How do we bring collaboration, and how do we bring the true resolutions that are out there? But true resolutions does not come without collaboration. I just wanted to open up the floor for any comments from anyone that was inspired or had some other suggestions, or some, like I said, some comments that they would like to share with us today.
Well, Reverend Oliver, I'll just tag on to what you said. Also, I thought his most important point was the fact of you can't arrest your way out of crime. You can't deal with crime by arresting people. So if you get that down first, understand that, then you start looking, like you said, for the root cause. You stop looking at the effect or the after, the damage done, and punish people. You want to help people, undo their gnarl of difficulties from poor education, poor money, and a blighted community. So I think that's really a very, very important point there. But he also talked about, like I say, just the ways in which they can help their community. And he talked like they had quite an excellent history of policing and community working together, collaborative effort. You know, you have to communicate and be down on the ground with people and be communicating with them, help understand what's the problems in the community. They can work on that. So also just the things about investment. He said you have to invest. So he's trying to find more ways to invest in their community. And that Wyandotte County is a poor community, has been for a long time, but they're trying to find ways to make better. And I think they're making progress. So education and like I said, he just wants to invest all he can. And an important point is they had 100% solubility on their cases, so that's important. But he said it doesn't help for people who have aches and pains. And I know I touched me when he talked about going to their funerals and their wakes, and they follow through and try to understand the damage it does to the family and how to do their best to support them in their grieving kind of moments. So that's important. But yeah, I think those are some important points I had on that score. But yeah, he had a lot of great things to say and a very sincere man. You know.
I think so. Thank you very much. Andrea had a statement, and you're correct. She said, was he at the conference? And no, he wasn't. And that leads into another point. Because we weren't able to get all the information out that we really wanted to get out and reach the people we want, because actually we had lost it for some reason. It was deleted. The excellent list that John initially created that had every speaker's name, address, phone number, topic, all of those things were in chronological order, and somehow it was deleted. So we couldn't get to all the other people. So subsequently in 6 months, we're going to have another conference. And this conference will be to allow those other people like Mayor Garner and others who really would have loved to come. And then from there, we will create a national best practices team task force from that group of people, because already they have exhibited, as you listen to him, exhibited best practices that are out there making a difference, and so those are the people that we want to have what we call the inner team committee. And then we'll reach out to the greater communities of other great people out there. So we did consider, like Dr. Madeline and John O'Connor and Dr. Faulkner and VJ Smith and others who were there, which was a fabulous and outstanding conference. We're like the inner sanctuary of the National Best Practices Task Force. So to answer the question, no, he was not, because we weren't able to get him. But in 6 months, when our next conference is, we will have more people there who have come over the 3 years and who have spoken eloquently and have displayed and confirmed best practices that I say that are sustainable, but also you can measure the results, which is very important in these communities out here. What else? Thank you, John.
Yes, and I just want to chime in at this point. I remember briefly when he was on, and what resonates in my mind is when he's talking about the police force. When I was growing up, we had officer friendly. There was also always an officer in the neighborhood, in the community, just being friendly. And I think that relationship has to be rebuilt as far as the community and the police department. Also, to be able to recognize those root causes and to help provide resources for the help that's needed, because every person that's arrested doesn't need to go to jail. So I worked in corrections for 13 years. However, there was no corrections. You know what I mean? In the 70s, they had skills, upholstery, and car mechanics and things like that, that when a person that was part of his or her rehabilitation process, and they no longer have that in the system. So a lot of people are just being warehoused, giving them time to think about the crime that they have committed and how they could do better. To identify some of these root causes, I think it has to start in the school system and with monitoring behaviors and having the parent completely engaged, that when there are teacher parent conferences, that the teacher can share with the parent their observation, and the parent can be honest to see if those behaviors are the same at home, that these things can be addressed earlier on. That's it for me. Thank you.
That is so true. And they need support systems to help them in such processes. You know, they need support to help them understand why it's needed, and even the monitoring to help them do it. You know, thank you. You're right. Anybody else? We have a nice group of people here today.
Are you muted, Reverend Oliver?
Yeah, and I'm just saying the floor is open. We'd love to hear from other people.
I want one more thing I can ask about before.
Sure, please.
Well, you know, the first I heard about redlining was with UPF in our programs, you know, so I really didn't know what that was. I didn't study much, but I'd like to see more study of how much that's done, what kind of practice that's done. I get mostly dealing with housing, I think, isn't it? Redlining is dealing with mostly housing or getting loans and different things like that. What I thought anyway. So I'd like to study a little bit more about that, see what the facts are, you know. Is that really something that's being carried on as a business practice by the banks in the community, or what the deal is? So that's something to do a little research on. Yeah.
In some respects, it has some validity to it. And
Yeah.
like you said, you have to do a little bit more research on, you know, these types of things fester, if you will. They compound on top of already different other components that causes people to have ill behaviors or ill thoughts, to even become even more considered maybe unbecoming, you know. But this is why we look at root causes, because, you know, as a faith leader, we know that everyone is a son and a daughter of God, and everyone was originally created for goodness, you know. But the reality is that most people, because of extenuating circumstances or environment or et cetera, sometimes the good nature becomes a little bit more environment that induces bad behavior. So this is why we look at what is the root causes of those things that causes us to do things that we know they're not right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have something I could say, Reverend Oliver.
Please, let's see my guest.
The Peace Corps was a very successful program that gave young Americans a purpose to go to disadvantaged countries. Why is it not possible to have a Peace Corps in the areas where young people can be part of the solution to it? As John Kennedy had said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. What can you do for your community? I mean, that would be a very strong rallying cry for many young people. where they can come in, they can voice, and they can participate in it instead of just complain or act out against what they don't like. They can create the things they do want. Um, so that was be just my comment on that.
Absolutely. Those are great points. How about Ray or Carolyn Hanson? I see names up here. I know that they don't have their camera on, and we have others on it.
So,
SR, who's always a forerunner on many things he's on, and Scott Furch, and Susan
well,
Edwards.
I could say something.
Sure, Ray.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in my car here. Yeah, I like to. I missed some of the presentation, but I was listening in most of it. I liked Wayne Hankins' comment, and Dr. Alexander always has great comments. That I think a lot of it's trying to mobilize people's good nature and yeah, trying to have people get a win-win thing where by helping others you get some kind of vitality elements or some better feelings, and just knowing where to plug into in one's own community, it might be challenging. There are a lot of initiatives going on, but I'm glad you're talking about it, and I'm trying to keep up with what you're talking about. We obviously, even I'm in Seattle, so Seattle's changed significantly since my wife and I came here in 1988. It was kind of like this pretty little town and didn't have too many problems. That had some problems, but things have kind of now the downtown has a huge drug issue and homelessness issue, which is resistant. Every year the budget goes up for that, and within that sub community, there's a lot of crime and victimization of people. So, and then also at certain points, it spreads out in the neighborhoods. Seattle's a very funny community. It's long and narrow. It's stuck in between Lake Washington and the Puget Sound. So it's only about, 2.5 miles wide, but it's like 20 miles long. And you have these different areas and neighborhoods. And some are more in a problem and some are a little more removed. But I think everybody knows what's kind of going on, and it's good to get an idea of how to deal with problems, and then how to really, utilize those solutions that you're talking about. Here, it is very quote unquote progressive area. And we did go through a period when, like, the Seattle police actually stopped arresting people for, they said, oh, these people are disadvantaged, so, so they're stealing stuff. So, they're just, I don't know what, getting restitution or I don't know what, because of their disadvantaged situation. It was very weird. So then, of course, in response to that, a lot of stores started closing because they couldn't handle the amount of, things going on with people stealing or shoplifting and whatnot. So in that sense, I think a lot of communities of disadvantaged communities have already been through that, where their whole area is kind of blighted. You can't hardly find a place to shop. Seattle's not like that so much, but there are difficult areas, and it's kind of like you don't want that to spread. You'd rather bring a solution, and kind of like that's what I'm grateful for this program for the best practices. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Even here, the kids are running in and just taking stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. That doesn't solve the problem. We understand that many times, yes, they're victims of their circumstances, but that doesn't condone behaviors that become destructive. It's not how you really solve the problem, because you're just escalating the problem even more by condoning behaviors that they know that are not correct. So I'm in total disagreement. I was at the CVS one time and I knew the manager, and he was just telling me this whole policy that they have that is not abandoned kids. The kids came in and stole what they wanted. What could you do? They just come in and just stand there twiddling your thumbs. You can't do anything. But this time, one of the employees told the person, you cannot take that, tried to stop. You don't take that. You can't take that. So when the management of CVS heard about it, upper manager heard about that, she, reprimanded the person for taking, or at least stopped and tried to say, no, you can't take it. So the result was that she was fired.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
not an
don't get it.
isolated incident. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have this
So,
policy that you don't do much. And now, on the other hand, then out here, a lot of stores have started hiring security services. You go in where you used to just be able to walk in the store. Now you have to go through a gate, and then so of course this actually adds costs, so the prices go up because they have anywhere from 2 to 4 security people around the store at any time. Yeah.
Thank you. It's true.
Uniform. Yeah.
So, Uli, to your question in regards to the survey, Faulkner, we had a team meeting. I just let everyone know. After the meeting, we had really a great meeting, a great conference, and what was created was an MOU, and also we created a very comprehensive survey form to fill out. And so Dr. Faulkner has taken it and he's collected all of them. And I don't know if we're missing a few, and then he's going to compile it and then make a report on it to everyone. And also to Dr. Faulkner and Brittany, which is Mr. Brad Carson's daughter. They're going to get together and polish up the MOU, because both of them did one, and they're going to kind of integrate it, and then they're going to send the results out to everyone so that we can all read that. So thank you for asking that question. Yes, well, people get the feedback on those surveys. Anyone else? You, Sharon. I haven't heard your voice in a while. See, Susan made a comment. She wants to share it with the group. That would be great as well.
Which one?
Ever commented?
Well, the last one, yeah, this is a
Whatever
big
one you feel
problem.
this.
This is a big problem right now. This crime right now, especially in sanctuary cities, where people, young people, old people, could go and make a crime, do a crime, and then they're let go. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's okay. Even now with the fires in Los Angeles, there are people who seem to be starting fires or letting the fires go, and they're not being prosecuted, or they come into the Los Angeles area where there are a lot of rich people who lost their houses, and they scavenge through the ruins to try to find stuff for themselves, and there seems to be no consequences most of the time. So there's been this kind, and also, of course, illegal aliens who come in and do that. But I think with the new administration, things are going to get better. There's going to be more hunting down of sanctuary cities. We need that, and of course, we need people from the neighborhood to work together, and we also need better students. I mean, better teachers. Teachers who just don't slap the hand of the students or nice them when they do some wrong behavior, like bully others or do some other naughty things, calling out in the classroom or whatever, disruption, or just get lost for a while or not show up to class. These kinds of behaviors have to be dealt with. Or walking out from a class, that also happens without permission. These kinds of things, if the students could get away with when they're young, they're going to do it later also. This is they're going to repeat it. So it needs to be, these things need to be dealt with, and the students won't just go, they just won't be ignored that this kind of thing happens. This has to be dealt with while they're young, so that it's wrong, and there's going to be consequences. And also, police are not just your friends. Police also are going to hold you accountable. It's not enough that they're going to be your friends. That's not enough. They need to know there's a certain kind of standard that's required of them. Don't you think?
Of course. And this is the issue. Situation. Allowing them, because of their situation, to steal more things is really bringing.
Can't hear you again.
Can you hear me? Anybody else can hear me?
I can hear you now, but you did go faint for a couple seconds.
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay.
You kind of faded
Yeah,
out.
but anyway, I don't think that's. I think that's just ideological type of people who come in and they're. I don't know why they would think that will bring healing, that will bring solutions. You know, as the mayor had eloquently said, and I always emphasize, we have to deal with root causes, you know, in order to bring the proper. Anyone else? How about Carolyn Hansen? How are you?
Oh, hi. What shall I say? I want to say thank you for all those who organize things on a larger scale. I live in a small town, 17,000 people. There's very little crime. Maybe the drugs, but we don't see them on the street. It's done, you know, in people's homes. So, but today being Martin Luther King's birthday, I'm part of a group. We organize a group where we bring people together and we discuss the Kingian principles of peace, which are pretty profound and amazing. So also, I don't do things on a big scale like some of you, or I'm not as smart as some of you, but I think everybody can make a difference in your, you know, wherever you are, we can all make a difference. And you're touching on over many different kinds of problems that do exist. And I think whoever is there making effort to solve part of it, I think that's the kind of people that are needed to make a better world. So thank you for this platform. I just came on it and I'm grateful I came. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, it's a platform. I thought I haven't seen you before, but thank you for your comments.
Yeah,
and we
and
look forward to seeing you something like that.
The word of God reminds us that God is not a respecter of a person. And Mother's autobiography reminds us that no person should regret being born. So we all have value. We all might do different things, but we all have value. I just want to speak to the what I was saying about the police and officer friendly. Officer Friendly built relationships of trust, which made it okay for you to call the police. So much has happened in time where there's a distrust in the community and there's a distrust with those that are in authority because of the abuse that have taken place. There has to be a time that we go back to building those relationships in the community with police officers in authority to have greater understanding of their job and the consequences of your actions. Now, my father taught me earlier on, there's consequences for your actions. Whatever you do, there's consequences for that, be it good or be it bad. There was a penalty in there for negative behavior. And I think that's not discussed in these times because that parent-child relationship has been broken, and the community and the police relationship have to be broken, and those bridges need to be repaired.
That's right. That is so true. Yeah, that is so true. Anyone else like to add to that?
Oh, could I say something?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. We work with, my husband and I work with a community association. And every month we have the neighborhood police coming to our neighborhood meetings to share with the community about different things that happen, if there are any crimes. And also they're available to talk to the people who come to the neighborhood meetings. And that's a good way for them to get to know the people, to have a personal relationship. But not everybody comes to the meeting, that's a problem. A lot of people don't, and they miss out on it. But this is available.
Yes, and
Sure.
earlier on in the urban communities that was available, but that again, that bridge has been broken, and it needs to be rebuilt. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it, because that is a segue into change. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Reverend Oliver, one thing reminds me of talking about police in the community. They have a national night out every year.
Mm-hmm.
Ray or Susan, you know what month is it, in October or something? I forget, something like that. But all across the country, they police and people come together in neighborhoods, small get-togethers, but one or two police and one fireman show up and really get to know the public, servants of the community. That helps a lot. So anybody could look that up and find out about that for their own town.
Yeah, we've been doing it for years over here, National Night Out. We have the police cars, the motorcycle police coming on, the dogs, the canine dogs, the whatever else the police have. They come, the whole bunch of them come from one party to the other. It's a party. You could have a barbecue, you could have the mayor come, and different politicians also come and visit with people who show up in each party. It's really a good thing, So we've been doing that, and we get donations from different businesses, and that's really good too, because then the businesses feel included as well. So it's good. It's like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, just as we're coming to our conclusion, thank you for that. Dr. Bostic, who's on our team on stopping the best practices, stopping the Violence Best Practices Task Force team. What he did, and I think one of our other speakers did, was something very similar. But what they did not only got the different businesses involved, but they got them involved in hiring some of these gang members who were seeking to and had some incredible results, because the platform was this: if you can hire them, it's better that you hire them and they come in stealing them from you. But I heard that it was a great, and plus they're in their own community, correct? So I heard that it was a great result. They've had some great results with that. So that means the business people, he felt that not only, and also Carlson too, Brad Carlson, right, Dr. Madeline?
Yes.
They
yes.
engage the business community in hiring. Actually, once these guys go through some sort of, rehabilitation process, to hire them when they come out, and or wanting to get out of those gangs. And it's been a result, excellent results. Anyone else? Thank you, Susan, for that. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's true. Yeah. Anyone else, as we're coming to our conclusion? Want to thank Mayor Gardner for his presentation. I just thought that we should listen to that again, Dr. Madeline. I was thinking about the committee should listen to it, because he really presents another avenue, some other critical points that I think we can use for what we want to do, and we will do for the National Best Practices Task Force team, is create a resource guide where we can create, say, a guide where we know the best practices are working on a national level, so people can go to them, or if they need help, or they need references, or and referrals, or ABC, that they can go through this national resource guide. So what he was sharing, and it's not only just the resources, but it just gives some training points, some orientation points that needs to be implemented if you want to be successful in this particular area. So, brothers and sisters, that's what we're working on as we speak in the team, and we're going to keep you abreast, and also look forward to your participation in making sure that this National Best Practices Task Force, which all of you have been a part of in your own way, become a success on a national level. I want to thank everyone again as we come to our final conclusion. Anybody like to make a last remark? The floor is open. If not, I want to thank everybody for coming. John, always, Dr. Madeline, Susan, those who haven't spoken. I hope you've gained a lot from what you've heard thus so far. Again, Carolyn Henson, we have some incredible other speakers come on. Please join us again in the future. Scott, how are you? I can see your face.
Thank you. It's been a long time. We're back in the 80s in Washington, D.C. But
yeah.
First time tuning in, and thank you so much. It's
been
good.
Thank you for coming.
Do it again.
Yeah, Scott, long time.
Very long time. What is it, 40 years?
Yeah, and then I can see your face closer. I know that guy. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, God bless you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. God bless you. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right. God
Thank
bless.
you.
Take care.
Thank
And
you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
May I say
Thank you,
something?
Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne. As
Yeah.
always.
See you there.
Thank you, EJ. He's always in background, but thanks.
All
May I
right.
say one thing?
Yeah.
Invisible Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, EJ.
I heard some children making noise in the background, and I remember that God created small children to be noisy.
Yeah,
Got that right.
Of
Right.
course,
My
that's what they
grandchildren.
do. Yeah.
that's good.
What can you do?
Yeah.
You know,
Can't put a
there's
sock
nothing
in
you
their mouth.
can do. All right. God bless.
Dr.
All right,
Malik,
God bless.
it'd be a good time to call
Thank
you.
you.
Dr.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. Let's stay
God
safe.
bless. Bye-bye. Love
Yes.
you all.